through a
and
lot right now.
become deeply
I'm here for you.
absorbed in ideas. Their mind is rarely satisfied with surface-level explanations. The second is emotional overexcitability. These individuals experience emotions with unusual depth. Empathy, sadness, excitement, or moral outrage can feel incredibly powerful, sometimes overwhelming. The third is imaginational overexcitability. Their inner world is vivid and active. They often have strong visual imagination, elaborate daydreams, and the ability to mentally simulate complex scenarios, both hopeful and catastrophic. Fourth is sensory overexcitability. Lights may feel too bright, noise too loud, crowded environments too chaotic. What others perceive as normal stimulation can feel overwhelming. Finally, there is psychomotor overexcitability, which reflects a surplus of mental and physical energy. It can appear as rapid speech, restless movement, or bursts of intense enthusiasm. When these five sensitivities combine, the result is a mind that absorbs life at a far greater intensity. Beauty can feel breathtaking, but suffering, conflict, and injustice can feel equally overwhelming. For many highly intelligent individuals, the challenge is not simply managing their thoughts. It is learning how to live in a world that they experience at full psychological volume. Another psychological pattern that frequently appears in highly intelligent individuals is extreme perfectionism. At first glance, perfectionism may look like a positive trait. After all, the ability to set high standards and pursue excellence is often associated with success. But for many gifted minds, perfectionism becomes less of a strength and more of an invisible psychological trap. One reason for this is that highly intelligent people are often able to imagine ideal outcomes with remarkable clarity. When they begin a project, enter a relationship, or plan a career path, they can visualize what the perfect result would look like. They see the optimal version of the idea, the flawless execution, the elegant solution, the life that fully matches their potential. But reality rarely unfolds with that same precision. When the actual outcome falls short of the vision in their mind, the gap can feel deeply frustrating. What others might consider a success can feel, to them, like a disappointing compromise. This constant comparison between the ideal and the real gradually feeds a persistent sense that they are not living up to their own abilities. Over time, this pressure can evolve into what many psychologists call gifted burnout. A person who was once labelled as exceptionally capable may begin to feel overwhelmed by the expectations placed on them, both by others and by themselves. The fear of wasting their potential becomes a quiet but powerful source of anxiety. Ironically, the same intelligence that allows someone to see extraordinary possibilities can also make them painfully aware of every perceived failure. In this way, the burden of potential becomes heavy. Not because they lack ability, but because they constantly feel they should be doing more, achieving more, or becoming more than they already are. One of the most painful challenges many highly intelligent individuals face is not intellectual difficulty, but social disconnection. Psychologists have long observed a phenomenon often referred to as the communication gap. The idea that meaningful communication becomes increasingly difficult when there is a large difference in cognitive processing styles between two people. When individuals have similar levels of cognitive complexity, conversations tend to flow naturally. Ideas build upon each other, humor lands easily, and both people intuitively understand the direction of the discussion. But when the difference in cognitive style becomes too large, conversations can begin to feel strangely misaligned. For many highly intelligent people, this misalignment appears in everyday social interactions. They often crave conversations that explore deeper questions, ideas about psychology, philosophy, science, or the hidden patterns behind human behavior. Their curiosity naturally pushes discussions toward complexity. Yet the social environments most people move through every day are built around something very different: small talk. Conversations revolve around light topics: the weather, workplace gossip, television shows, or casual updates about daily life. These interactions serve an important social function, helping people bond and maintain group harmony. But for someone whose mind constantly seeks depth, participating in these exchanges can feel surprisingly draining. Over time, many highly intelligent individuals learn an unspoken strategy. They begin to mask their natural way of thinking. They simplify their language, avoid complex topics, and sometimes intentionally hold back ideas that might seem too intense or unusual for the conversation. This masking helps them blend in socially, but it comes at a cost. When a person repeatedly suppresses the way they naturally think and communicate, it can slowly create a quiet sense of isolation. They may be surrounded by colleagues, friends, or family members, yet still feel as though no one truly understands how their mind works. And that subtle feeling of being out of sync with the social world can become one of the most isolating experiences of all. For many highly intelligent individuals, loneliness does not always come from being physically alone. Instead, it often emerges from something deeper, a feeling that their mind is operating on a different level of reflection than the world around them. This experience is sometimes linked to a psychological phenomenon known as existential depression. Unlike the more familiar forms of depression that arise from personal loss, stress, or life events, existential depression is rooted in deeper philosophical questions about existence itself. It often begins when someone starts confronting the larger realities of life: the fragility of human civilization, the inevitability of death, the vast scale of the universe, and the unsettling possibility that life may not have a clear, objective meaning. Highly intelligent minds tend to encounter these questions earlier and more intensely than most people. Because their thinking naturally moves toward abstract and philosophical ideas, they often spend long periods reflecting on themes that others rarely dwell on for very long. Questions like, what is the purpose of human life? Why does suffering exist? Or what ultimately matters in the grand scheme of the universe? Can become persistent mental companions. At times, this depth of reflection can lead to powerful insights and creativity, but it can also create a quiet emotional weight. When someone becomes deeply aware of the complexity and uncertainty of existence, the simple routines of everyday life can begin to feel strangely disconnected from those larger questions. Paying bills, completing repetitive tasks, or engaging in casual social rituals may start to feel trivial compared to the vast philosophical concerns occupying their mind. And in those moments, the individual may feel an unsettling realization that the deeper they think about life, the harder it can become to feel fully at home within it. Living with an exceptionally high level of intelligence often means living with a series of quiet internal contradictions. The gifted mind is not simply powerful, it is also deeply conflicted. At the center of this experience are several psychological paradoxes that shape how highly intelligent people see both themselves and the world. The first paradox is understanding too much while feeling powerless to change it. A highly analytical mind can clearly see the structural flaws in systems, the irrational patterns in human behavior, and the long-term consequences of certain decisions. Yet recognizing these problems does not necessarily grant the power to solve them. This gap between insight and influence can produce a persistent sense of frustration. The second paradox is feeling deeply but struggling to communicate that depth.
Evening, isn't it?
Gifted
Yeah, the
individuals often
sunset is
experience
amazing.
powerful
I'm
emotions
glad we came
and
out.
complex thoughts. Yet translating those inner experiences into everyday conversation can be surprisingly difficult. Their emotional world is rich, but the language available in ordinary social settings can feel too limited to express it. The third paradox is the tension between seeking profound meaning and living within ordinary reality. Highly intelligent people often dream of contributing something significant to the world, yet daily life still requires routine tasks and practical responsibilities. These contradictions create a constant psychological tension inside the gifted mind. So where does this leave the highly intelligent mind? Is living with an extremely active, analytical brain simply a lifelong burden? Not necessarily. The real problem is not intelligence itself. More often, the problem is isolation. When highly intelligent individuals spend too long feeling misunderstood or out of sync with the people around them, their mind can easily turn inward in unhealthy ways. But everything changes when they find their intellectual tribe. People who think deeply, ask difficult questions, and enjoy exploring ideas with the same intensity. In the presence of those who operate on a similar wavelength, what once felt like alienation can transform into connection. Intelligence then becomes what it was always meant to be, a tool for curiosity, creativity, and meaningful contribution. If parts of this video resonated with your own experience, you're not alone. Share your thoughts in the comments below. How has overthinking or feeling different shaped your life? And if you enjoy exploring the deeper truths of human psychology, consider subscribing to the channel for more conversations like this. Thank you for watching.